They thought she was just another recruit until the NATO compound froze at a glimpse of her tattoo. The Blackthorn Mountains loomed over the NATO training compound, jagged like broken blades. Recruits jogged the yard, boots pounding dirt in ragged rhythm. Laughter echoed sharp, careless, the kind that always hunted the weakest link. Aria Kane kept her stride measured, not fast, not slow, plain fatigues. Faded shirt, hair loose at her shoulders, she looked like the kind of woman nobody noticed, until they tried her. The first shove came from Tyler Briggs, the quarterback recruit built like a wall. He slammed her shoulder as he passed. Smirking, "Keep up, rookie, or head back to your cafe." Snickers followed. A ponytail recruit hissed, "She won't last a week." Aria didn't answer. She only adjusted her pack. That silence was worse than any insult. The laughter faltered. Then her collar slipped. Just for a second. Where in the world are you watching from? Drop a comment with your city or country below. And don't forget to hit subscribe to Stories That Salute so you never miss an inspiring military story. A glint of silver ink beneath the fabric twin hawks clutching a lightning bolt. The Iron Hawk insignia. Rivers, the veteran trainer, froze mid-step. His jaw tightened, his eyes narrowing like he'd seen something he wasn't supposed to. One recruit whispered, "No way." That looked like Black Ops, but before anyone could get closer. Aria tugged her collar back into place, expression flat, as if nothing had happened. The squad's rhythm cracked. Doubt seeped where mockery had been, and then Major Holt's voice thundered from the tower, Kane front and center. Now. The yard stilled. Even the wind seemed to wait. Aria stepped forward, boots scuffing dirt, posture steady. Holt's razor-sharp uniform gleamed as his eyes cut through her. "Name you're not on the roster," a buzz-cut recruit muttered. "Lost delivery, girl." Alicia Frost grinned wide, scooping up Aria's battered notebook and tossing it into the dirt. "This your kit rob a gas station?" The squad laughed. Aria knelt. Calm. She brushed the dust off, zipped her bag, her fingers lingering just a second too long. Then she rose, sliding into formation at the back. Nobody noticed how her eyes swept the terrain, cataloging every rise, every shadow. Nobody saw how her fingers flexed like they still remembered the weight of a rifle, and none of them were ready for what she'd do next. They thought she'd collapse before the mountains did until Aria Kane turned their run into a reckoning. The recruits lined up at the base of Echo Trail, a 12-kilometer gauntlet through NATO's Blackthorn Mountains. Tyler Briggs, the broad-shouldered quarterback type, bounced on his heels, flashing his smirk at the squad. "Bet the delivery girl doesn't make it past mile 2. Laughter rippled, light but cutting. Aria knelt quietly, tying her laces tighter, her face unreadable. No water bottle, no excuses, just steady breath. The starting horn split the air. The recruits surged forward, boots hammering the dirt, voices loud with bravado. Aria kept to the middle of the pack, silent, efficient, invisible. By kilometer 3. Egos started cracking. Sweat poured, bottles sloshed, curses flew. Briggs still pushed ahead, but his face was beet red, arms pumping like he was drowning. Aria never broke rhythm. Her stride was metronomic, her breathing smooth, as if she had been born on this trail. At kilometer 7, the pack unraveled. One recruit stumbled and hit the dirt. Another slowed, gasping for air. Briggs faltered, chest heaving, his swagger stripped away with every step. Aria passed them one by one. Not fast, not slow, just inevitable. When she crossed the finish line, the timer flashed 6 minutes ahead of second place. She stood tall, hands on hips, shirt clinging to her back, eyes calm. The others staggered across the line, gasping, staring at her like they'd just seen a ghost in human form. Briggs couldn't meet her eyes. He bent over, hands on his knees, wiping sweat like it could erase humiliation. The silence broke with a gravel-thick voice. Sergeant Mason Cruz barked navigation test, compasses and maps. Let's see who actually belongs here. They gathered at the forest edge. Aria unfolded her map, still smudged from earlier jeers. Before she could start, Kyle Mercer, the lanky recruit with glasses and a permanent sneer, snatched her compass. Let's see if the delivery girl can find her way home. He tossed it into a muddy puddle. The group howled, clapping like it was theater. Aria crouched, plucked the compass from the mud, wiped it clean across her sleeve. Brown streaks smeared her arm, but her pencil moved fast and precise, tracing routes with the certainty of someone who had done this in real terrain, under real fire. When the test began, she hit every checkpoint flawlessly. The others stumbled, missing markers. Mercer returned red-faced, muttering excuses. Aria folded her map neatly, slipping it back into her pocket. Her face was blank, but her eyes glinted sharp as a blade. Later, at the armory, the trials turned meaner. Aria inspected her rifle with calm, practiced movements. Alicia Frost, the wiry recruit with manicured nails, sauntered over, tapping her claws against the table. "You hold that like you've never fired a shot," she said loud enough for the room. The squad chuckled. She leaned in. "What's next, gonna cry when it kicks?" Then she flicked the scope out of alignment. Oops. Snickers rose. Aria didn't blink. She adjusted the scope in 3 quick motions, raised the rifle, and fired. 3 consecutive rounds slammed the target at 200 meters tight grouping. Dead center. The room went dead silent. Frost's smile froze, cracking under the weight of disbelief. Aria set the rifle down gently, hands steady, and walked out, behind her. Sergeant Cruz scribbled notes, eyes locked on her retreating figure. He had seen something the others hadn't, and he wasn't about to let it slip. Because what none of them knew yet was that the tattoo under Aria's collar wasn't a decoration, it was a warning. They mocked her scars and snapped photos of her collar, but what they caught only deepened the mystery. The day after Echo Trail, the recruits shuffled back into Ironfield Barracks. The walls smelled of sweat, leather, and dust, just another training night. Aria Kane reached for a clean gray shirt, just as plain as the one she'd sweated through. She stepped behind a partition, but Megan Voss' ponytail pulled tight like a noose caught a glimpse under Aria's collar, a sliver of ink. Megan muttered, her phone already clicking. "What is it?" She jeered loud enough for the room. "Ex-boyfriend's name." A little heart laughter cracked across the barracks. Connor Hayes barked. "Butterfly tattoo makes her dangerous." Aria tugged her collar higher. Calm and steady. "It's nothing." Her voice was low, but sharp enough to slice the noise short. For one beat. Silence. Then the mockery limped back. Thinner. Unsure. Megan checked her phone, but the photo was blurred, just shadows. No proof. At mess that night, the taunts kept coming. Tyler Briggs flicked bald napkins at her tray. "Think she's better than us?" He sneered. Alicia Frost added, "Maybe she's just slow." More napkins rained down, splashing into her coffee. Aria didn't flinch. She picked each one up, folded it neat, set it aside. When she finally rose and walked past, Briggs's hand slipped, his grin fading as his napkin hit the floor. The room quieted like someone had cut the power. Outside, the compound bled into dusk. Aria sat alone on a bench, rucksack at her feet. From it, she pulled a whetstone, sliding her knife along its edge slow, deliberate, not threat, ritual, the habit of a soldier who had carried steel longer than memory. Her eyes were steady, her breath measured. That's when Lieutenant Rivers approached, older, soft-spoken, a leather journal in his hand. He'd been watching her all day. "Your map work," he said, flipping to a page of field sketches. "Reminds me of someone I trained years back." She marked routes the same way. Aria's hand stilled on the blade. For the first time, her expression eased. She must have been good. She was. Rivers said quietly. He closed the book, never came back. He left without another word, but his tone lingered like fog. Later, during a briefing, Major Holt read schedules. Sergeant Mason Cruz stood off to the side, silent, but his gaze never left Aria. When she stepped out for air, Cruz followed and saw it. Just a flicker beneath her collar, twin hawks clutching a lightning bolt. His face shifted. Not fear, not surprise, recognition. Cruz limped fast to the secure records room, his hands trembling as he pulled a file stamped Ironhawk Division Eyes Only. Inside, a grainy photo of the same tattoo, attached Operation Iron Resolve, Commander Aria Kane, 11 NATO operatives, 52 hostiles neutralized, 21 allies extracted. He exhaled, whisper sharp as he lifted his phone. Don't touch her. Don't even look at her wrong. They thought it was just another survival drill until the forest whispered her real name. The recruits lined up at the tree line, rifles slung, radios hissing with static. The blackthorn ridges loomed high. Ravenstone Forest stretched dark and endless. Major Holt's voice cut the morning air. Ravenstone drill. 20 minutes. Capture the flag or get captured. Move. Laughter rippled through the squad. To them, it was paintball with rules. Aria Kane only adjusted her pack, her eyes scanning the tree canopy like she'd already mapped it. The horn blew. Kyle Mercer charged forward in a three-man wedge. Connor Hayes circled wide, radio buzzing. Megan Voss whispered sharp orders into her mic. Boots light over pine needles. The recruits moved like a textbook formation, but Aria didn't sprint, didn't crouch. She walked steps light as falling leaves, each twig, each bend of grass. She read like a book she'd written. She moved like the forest wasn't an obstacle, but her ally. By the 6th minute, Mercer was on his back, wrists lashed with his own webbing. He never saw her coming. By the 9th, Hayes froze. Staring down at a knife laid gentle but unshakable across his chest. His rifle gone. Megan lasted longest, doubling back, crossing streams, clever and quick. But when she finally paused for breath, a whisper brushed her ear. Too slow. Her world flipped. Moss pressed her cheek. Her radio vanished. When the horn blared again, every recruit was dragged back to base, wrists bound, their flags stuffed neatly into their packs. Barracks walls shook with outrage. Tyler Briggs slammed his fist down. She cheated. Nobody takes down a whole squad alone. Check the drone feed. Holt ordered. Screens lit. Clip after clip showed Aria moving tree to tree, disarming, vanishing, reappearing, clean, precise, efficient. The room went still. Briggs's jaw clenched. She's not one of us. Nobody moves like that unless he lunged, yanking her collar. Fabric tore, and silence detonated. On her shoulder, black ink burned clear against pale skin, twin hawks clutching a lightning bolt. The Ironhawk insignia. Megan's phone slipped from her hand. That's NATO Special Operations. Whispers rippled like fire. Rivers froze mid-step. Holt's eyes narrowed. Face unreadable. The only voice steady was Sergeant Mason Cruz. Enough. He picked up the torn fabric, folded it with care, placed it on the table before her. His tone carved through the room. You don't laugh, you don't question. Not now, not ever. No one moved. Aria stood, eyes calm. Knife in her hand, not raised, not threatening, just steady. She slid it back into her belt, as if the moment meant nothing. Because the next day, the drills would end, and the world would learn who Aria Kane truly was. They thought the trial would expose her until NATO itself came to claim her back. Aria Kane's words were soft, but they carried. I don't claim anything, I just act, with her knife strapped tight. She stepped into Ravenstone Forest. Holt had given 3 recruits radios, gear, and orders hunt her down. Minutes later, the hunters were the hunted. Briggs woke to find his wrists bound with his own belt. Mercer dropped his rifle when a blade whispered cold against his throat from the tree line. Megan Voss lasted longest, doubling back, masking tracks until the stream betrayed her. Aria struck like a shadow. When she returned to base, each of their packs carried an Iron Hawk insignia patch. She said nothing. She didn't need to. Tension sharpened the next morning. Mercer tripped her during a grapple, shoving her into the dirt. Laughter erupted. Not so fast now. Dust smeared her fatigues, but in the very next maneuver, Aria dismantled him 3 motions, clean as water. He never even raised his guard before the whistle cut sharp. Silence replaced the jeers. By noon, whispers grew teeth. A logistics officer cracked open an envelope stamped eyes only. Inside photographs, not from Iron Resolve, but Operation Black Ember Commander Aria Kane, Iron Hawk Division. 17 NATO POWs and over 600 civilians secured during a single night extraction. The report bled awe onto the page. The file moved hand to hand in silence. Those who mocked her now couldn't meet her eyes. Then the compound shook. A NATO helicopter descended, blades tearing dust across the yard. Out stepped a ministry officer, uniform sharp, sealed directive in hand. He didn't look at Holt. He didn't look at the recruits. He walked straight to Aria, by order of Supreme Command. His voice rang. Aria Kane is reinstated as commander of the Iron Hawk Division, effective immediately. Her authority is recognized. Her unit will be rebuilt. The words hit like artillery. Salutes snapped. Eyes widened, half awe, half shame. Holt's jaw tightened, but he couldn't speak. The decision had already been signed in Brussels. Today was only the notice. Aria accepted the envelope, her hands steady. As she turned toward the helicopter, Megan Voss broke ranks, trembling. She held out a hand-sewn patch. I made this. I'm sorry. Aria's eyes softened. She tucked the patch into her rucksack. Not forgiveness, but enough. The blades roared. Dust swallowed the field. And when it cleared, the silence was heavier than before because everyone there knew the truth. For the first time in years, NATO's ghost had stepped back into the light. The Iron Hawk Division had a commander again.